Greetings, Algo artisans. What is Bitcoin's next move? We're also going to look at Solana, AVAX, and Filecoin, and we're going to do that right now. So let's jump straight into the charts here. We've got Bitcoin. I marked out the all-time high. Price did pretty much touch that yesterday, and technically on some exchanges, it did break the all-time high, but we had a very strong rejection, and price moved down about 15%. We can actually measure this with our price range tool from the top to the bottom, and price went down, according to this, 14.5%, which is pretty significant. Now, we did look at some prior bull markets, some prior halvings, and price does have a history of retracing 20 to 30% prior to that. However, we only have 2 data points, and as I've been talking about in these videos, technically we actually have 3 data points, but I don't like to look at 2020's halving as a strong data point because there was the COVID crash that happened right before that. So price may not have behaved the same, whether it's 2 or 3 data points, whether it's 2 or 3 halvings that we're looking at. It's not a lot of data on which to base a very strong thesis as to what will happen before the halving. We can look right at the price action and we can determine where price might go next. I already have some levels marked out here, but I'm going to reconstruct this so you can see how I have done it. Okay, so I've zoomed out here and I'm going to take a look at the most recent impulse on Bitcoin. Okay, there are 2 impulses that we can and will look at, but this is the prior impulse that happened prior to this move up to all-time high. I'm going to map the impulse with this yellow line. I'm going to go from the bottom to the top with my Fib extension tool according to this Fibonacci level, and we can teach you how to use all these tools over at algofactory.tech. Come pay us a visit. It's actually pretty simple to learn, but these important levels, one has already been met at the 1272 Fib extension, which that was 67, almost 68,000. I'm not going to mark that because price has already made it through there. However, the next level up would be 72,300. So 72,300 is the next kind of level that Bitcoin may go up, because here's the thing. Once Bitcoin breaks its all-time high, it's in what is called price discovery. And when Bitcoin is in price discovery, it can be difficult to know what's going to happen next. We don't have any older structure to which we can refer. We don't have any way to look back in time and say, well, Bitcoin did something at this price, it did something at that price. We don't have that. All we have are Fibonacci extensions, basically. That's kind of it. And we also have round numbers. When price on pretty much any asset comes to a round number like 100 or 10 or 50 or something like that, there tend to be some things that happen because of psychological reasons. So we'll leave this level on the chart. We'll erase this Fibonacci, and I'm going to stick with this 72 to 73 level as being an important level for price to go to. But the big question is, what is Bitcoin's next move? Do we want to buy now? Do we want to buy later? Do we want to hold off? Or do we want to just go for it? So the reason that we're asking ourselves these questions, it really has to do with the new dynamic in the market. Like I said before, the past halvings, Bitcoin pulled back, and it pulled back 20 to 30%, and that is a pretty strong pullback. That's a big discount that one can get. If somebody has an all-time high and you can get a 20 or 30% discount, then you can almost, well, according to history, you can almost guarantee that that discount will immediately pay off. However, we're seeing a new kind of buyer in the market, and we got a great video from Altcoin Daily. This is a gentleman named Michael Anderson, goes by Mondo, trader and co-founder at Rect Guy, creator of Mondo Minutes, or Mondo, not sure which one that is. And he talks about the new kind of buyer that we're seeing in the crypto market, right? He's talking about institutions around the world who don't seem to care what the price is of Bitcoin. They're simply buying it. So let's take a look at what he has to say here. So
the ETF will just keep buying. They do not care if it's the wrong time to buy, if it looks, if it's been 10 straight days of it going higher and the RSI is at like 95, they do not care. And I think that's something that the market will kind of have to get used to.
So here you go. What that tells me is that prior to this period in time, if what Michael Anderson is saying is correct, and he sounds correct to me, I don't have any reason not to believe him, is that this new kind of buyer is going to continue to buy Bitcoin regardless of the price. He was very clear with that. So what that tells me is that these strategies of, oh, well, Bitcoin had this pullback or that pullback, and we got to wait for that and get this discount, those may be irrelevant, right? If the the indicators and the price keeps, doing things that we're looking for. Oh, it's going to, RSI is too high, or we haven't seen a pullback, anything like that. Well, those things might be irrelevant if you have very large players who continue to buy into this market, even if they're buying off the exchanges, because as the larger players buy off the exchanges, you get a supply shock, which I think is already contributing to some of the bullishness that we're seeing right now, if not all of it. So that said, the question is now the time to buy Bitcoin? Well, we can't tell you that. We don't give investment advice. Obviously, Bitcoin, in my opinion, and again, not investment advice, I do think by the end of this year, Bitcoin is going to be quite a bit higher than the price it is right now. That's what I think. And in fact, I think it's quite possible in 4 months or less. It could be even in 4 weeks or 4 days. Under any of those circumstances, there is a good probability that Bitcoin will continue up, right? Now, there's always these famous last words of this time is different. And what I mean by that is that anytime a trader says, well, maybe this time will be different, that's a dangerous thing to say, because the market tends to repeat history, right? But things in this case are different only because there isn't a lot of history to which we can refer. As I said earlier in this video, we don't have but 2 halvings that I would even trust to look at for clean data, because 2020 halving didn't have that. So I do believe Bitcoin will go up probably soon. I mean, it's likely that Bitcoin could just move up right now. Very, very possible. And I'd be looking at about 72, 73,000 for the next stop off. Like, okay, once price reaches that, I'm going to evaluate the charts and determine where I think price will go next. Let's move on to Ethereum. I did review this in the morning show, and so this was a trade that I took. Now, I won this trade even though price went through this stop out. I did a lot of things prior to the end of this trade, so we're going to go back in time and review how I went ahead and made sure that I did not lose and actually won this trade. So we're going to use the Bitcoin or the TradingView replay function, and you'll see that I entered this trade several days ago. I think it was Monday, and as I hit the play button, we're going to see it bar by bar or candle by candle what happened. We have price finally making its way up into profit, and it went all the way up to about 230% profit at its peak. Bitcoin rejection happened and pulled Ethereum down. Now, I had moved my stop to entry at this point, so at this point there was no risk in the trade for me. I had taken the risk off. So essentially, if price had moved down to my entry, I would have been out of the trade at no loss, no gain, and price actually headed back up. As you can see in this current candle, let me delete this. Price came back up, and I sold right here. I sold near the top of this, maybe not exactly right here, but within very few dollars of this right here. And I got out, and the reason I got out was because we saw this big rejection in Bitcoin, and I saw this pullback, and I'm like, okay, we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know if price is going to continue up or down. And whenever I'm in a trade and the reason for me still being in the trade is no longer the case, I get out. It's how I roll. I got over a 1-to-1 profit, and we can see that, of course, Ethereum continued up and up and up. Now, we do have some older structure above 4,000 that we have to watch out for. So if we go back to this weekly chart, we can see price made a stop off on the way down in 2021 at about 4150. I was right. So back to this 3-hour chart, we are basically sitting below 3,900, which is important. We got 4,000. So long story short, 4,000 is a psychological number. There's a decent chance Ethereum will continue to rise up and at least negotiate this 4150. However, again, a lot of that is going to depend on Bitcoin. So I would be using my algos and looking at the charts. I can tell you high time frame, everything's bullish. So I do expect price to make its way up. It may not do so in a straight line, but I do expect 4150. Quick look at Solana. Okay, so Solana did really well, almost hit the target for that original trade. Wick down here, you can see that I do have some notation here as to what was going on with this trade, but this was just an awesome trade, amazing trade. Actually, this trade was sketched out in late February. So now Solana is holding up nicely. If I back out to a higher time frame, we're going to see, as I clean this up, by the way, we're going to see here that Solana is simply just bullish. I mean, it's just bullish. We have a range here out of which it broke. I'm going to delete some of this notation here and clean things up. Give me just a moment. And I would say the way to measure where Solana might go, there's a couple of ways. I would use this Fibonacci tool right here on the most recent impulse, and that's why you can see price more or less stopped right here at this 272. Now the next move up, and my target was 144, and the next target up from 144 is going to be about 170. $70. That's the next one. And then we have some structure from old price action at $205. And that's right below a 1-to-1 ABCD move from that Fibonacci that I drew. So you're looking at about a $200 target. And I think Solana could be a $1,000 coin. But again, this is not investment advice. I do believe Solana will continue up and approach $200. And let's take a look at AVAX. Okay, so AVAX on the weekly, we have price creating a bit of a range. I'm going to use the same. In fact, I already have pretty much created the same kind of metric for Fibonacci. I'm going to extend this a tad. The next target for Avalanche, if it can break its yearly high of about, actually this is last year's high. So $50 really needs to be broken. And the next two places it might go up to Fibonacci targets are going to be about $58 roughly and $68. If we go back in time, we have structure to which we can refer, and there's some structure, just a tiny bit of structure around $80, which is also a 1-to-1 move for that extension that we just talked about. And we do have some pretty strong structure sitting at $100, and an all-time high was $145 or so. And I would expect Avalanche to be at least a $200 coin this cycle. But we'll see about it. That's, again, not investment advice, but those are some targets that I see happening. I do see Avalanche making its way up there. No problem. That's what I see. But anything can happen. Last coin is Filecoin. Let's take a look at that. I do think Filecoin can be a big winner. Obviously, it has hit my Fibonacci targets right here. So let's go ahead and clean this up, and we're going to roll back and look at very high time frame. Now, Filecoin, I think, and I was just talking about this with a private group, and I'm grabbing a bag of this here, and I think Filecoin easily could get to its all-time high based on its market segment, right? Look, AI is the thing. Filecoin is file storage. AI requires file storage. So I believe AI will bridge over to something like Filecoin. And Filecoin is just, I would almost say it's the 800-pound gorilla. I think there might be some competition there. Filecoin space or file storage space is not my specialty, but looking at prior highs, you've got about 120 and 235, 238. Those are some prior numbers to look at as far as peaks on the way down, and we are looking at massive potential profits. Currently, price is just below $10. So if price were to touch the prior cycle all-time high, that is a 24x. Better than that from the current price of $9.35. So I am going to pick up a bag of Filecoin and hold it through this cycle. I do think we could see some massive, massive gains, and I think we are just at a beautiful price for that right now. And this does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful. Please come to algofactory.tech. We can teach you how we do a lot of these calculations. We actually build our own algos over there. We teach you how to build your own trading plan. And this is like for old-fashioned trading if you want it to be. We also can help you get on the road for having your trading plan coded into an auto trader that we do have the information for how to get that done. Either way, please come over. Remember to trade your job and upgrade your life. We'll see you on the next one.